Hey Janelle, let's take a look at your week 5 assignment 3 drawing. This is coming along well, nicely. The lighting situation that you have, the shading of the objects and the shadows, I think is what to me seems like is working out probably the best at this point. You're doing a great job of having kind of a dark, a middle, and a light side. And if this is kind of the main light source, I think it's doing a great job of being very clear and consistent overall amongst all the objects. The coffee table, this is kind of a medium, this is the dark, and obviously this is kind of the light. But I really like the fact that you're doing that throughout the the entire scene. I really think it ends up making it very easy to figure out how things are being lit. There's a few things here and there. I try to get a little bit of shadow underneath. Here would be nice to see. I would try and get just like one more layer of a darker value directly underneath, like very directly underneath some of this furniture, so that it has a little bit more kind of presence underneath the objects themselves. I think for me, the only thing I'd say to keep working on as you're making your way through the final, other than kind of some additions to some of that value stuff, is just trying to clean up a few areas. There's some areas where the edges feel a little bit rough at this point, and you want to clean them up. Down here as well, it just feels like as you get closer to the couch, there's little gaps and little spaces that we're seeing, and just touching those up will help to refine it a little bit more. I also feel like the ceiling is just very, very stark compared to everything else that's going on in the scene. So I think maybe even trying to deal with a little bit of value on the ceiling can be helpful as well. Maybe you have light coming from here. Maybe it gets shaded a little bit as you get closer and closer to the viewer because there's less light approaching it. But I think you're able to create some gradients, because I can see some of it occurring here, where you go from a very dark brown to a slightly less dark to a normal brown, and then to kind of the one where you added the highlights. So I think you kind of want to do that, but with whatever color you want the ceiling to be. If it's white, then you'd be using gray. But I think that's going to help to fill in this area and make it work a little bit more. I think finish-wise as well, like the pot lights that are in the ceiling, or whatever this is that's up in the ceiling, I think they need to be rendered a little bit better and filled in a little bit more consistently, because they feel very very quickly done, and they don't have kind of the refinement that I think some of the other elements do. Texturally, it'd be nice to see a little bit more texture in place as well, whether it's on the walls, or if you can try and get just a very light amount of colored pencil work in some of the areas that are wood. I think the floor is the only area to me that stands out as kind of a big texture, and that works out really well. But it'd be nice to see it kind of occur in a few other areas. I think for you it really just comes down to shoring up all these little details so that it ends up looking a little bit more clean and a little bit more finished. Right now it feels like everything is in its place. Color looks very good overall, and the lighting situation looks great. So I think it just comes down to making sure that all the little things are kind of dealt with, and I think it'll look good.